Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your place for all those filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I'm your host, DylanLasagna, and in this episode number 170, we got another late, out-of-date review on a certain pay-per-view that happened this past Saturday, and oh boy, it was certainly a one that was very talked about for some things that happened. Something that happened towards the very end of that show, but we're going to talk about it when we get there. And this event that I'm talking about is from the WWE side of things, and that was Survivor Series. Not just any Survivor Series, Survivor Series WarGames, pal. So we're going to talk about it in this review, in this episode 170. So sit back, relax, and get whatever drinks or beverages that you got as you try to recover from your Thanksgiving weekend, or maybe you're still trying to shop on Cyber Monday, whatever have you. But yeah, it was a very event-worthy weekend of sorts. It was certainly for me. My 49ers got their Thanksgiving revenge on the Seahawks, and then of course we had this pay-per-view, and of course the NFL action that ensued on this weekend, and is going to wrap up on Monday Night Football with that great Bears football game. I'm kidding. But yeah, before we get into the actual review of itself, a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Make sure you follow Very Cold Lasagna on Twitter and Instagram. X at Very Cold Lasagna. And then for all my audio listeners out there, make sure you listen to the show wherever you get your podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever Very Cold Lasagna is available. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, smash the subscribe button if you're not already. Leave a comment with your own takes on whatever I'm talking about. In this case, it's Survivor Series and whatever matches or things that I'm talking about. And let's start a discussion about it, especially with all the things I'm going to cover in this episode. So that being said, let's not waste any more time. Let's dive deep into my late, out-of-date Survivor Series 2023 review, which took place in the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois, which is technically not Chicago, which is actually in Rosemont, Illinois. I don't know why WWE insists on calling it Chicago. They do that thing with Los Angeles, California, when technically SoFi is in Inglewood. But nonetheless, I digress. So for this Survivor Series, they announced this back in July when they did the whole shebang with the announcement that it was going to be in the Allstate Arena in Rosemont, Illinois. They previously did Survivor Series in this arena in 1989 and 2019. For those of you that don't follow WWE or all those filthy casual fans out there, like myself. So the question became whether this would become just a regular, traditional Survivor Series event, like the regular 5-on-5, 4-on-4 traditional tag team matches like we've seen in the past, or would it go back to the SmackDown versus Raw brand element that they did before, like the old bragging rights supremacy like we've seen in the last few years? Or was it going to retain the theme that we saw last year, WarGames, the 2 rings, 2 cages themed matchup between 2 teams facing off one another in some kind of story kind of element. But nonetheless, we were wondering for like the last couple months which format they were going to go with this year. And then it was officially revealed during the Crown Jewel event weeks ago that it was once again going to be centered around WarGames. WarGames, ladies and gentlemen, because it was so successful last year that they wanted to do it again this year. It was a little kind of weird, in my opinion, that they didn't announce it like a little bit well before it advanced, but I digress. So for those of you unfamiliar with the WarGames concept, the rules are as follows. So pretty much 2 teams competing in this 2-ring, 2-caged match in either a 4-on-4 or 5-on-5. I think WWE once did it with 3 teams, with 3 teams, two competitors each on one team. But either way. So usually it's a 4-on-4 or 5-on-5, and then one team gets the advantage. So basically each member of the team starts first, and then a member of one team that has the advantage comes in after 5 minutes, and then after that, entrance of the both teams alternate on the on evening the score and the advantage. That happens for after a couple minutes until everyone's in the ring, and then the match officially begins. So yes, once everyone is officially in the match, WarGames officially begins, and then that's when the decision is officially made by the winning team by either pinfall or submission. Originally, when Dusty Rhodes first created back in 1987 and WCW and the NWA originally did it, there were no pinfalls. There were only submissions or technical knockouts. But in the later WCW version and now WWE, they introduced pinfalls. And then there's also the occasional, but it hasn't happened yet, disqualifications for the team that decides to escape the cage. So yeah, they implemented that rule. So yeah, WWE has brought back WarGames. They have reintroduced it for the second year straight. But considering it being in Chicago, Illinois, or Rosemont, as they don't want to market that, the biggest question surrounding this event was surrounding a certain return, a certain man that claims himself as the voice of the voiceless. But the last time we saw this certain man, this certain Chicago-made man, he went all out at all in London. That was the last time we saw this certain man. Was he or was he not gonna show up? After 2 months of very subliminal messages by various different wrestlers. Now, for me, in my opinion, I mean, I certainly saw a couple of these subliminal messages on X, on Twitter, but in all honesty, I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. I didn't really read too much in the lines of it. I mean, I certainly kind of knew what was going on, but I mean, I was paying much more attention to the NFL season, in my opinion, because that was more interesting. And even if he did show up, I mean, like, okay, cool. I mean, he's back. He fits more there, but in my opinion, let's see how this pans out in real life. But that being said, was he or was he not going to actually show up in that stage, in that time? That was going to be interesting how that was going to play out. So that was the biggest question surrounding this event, considering that what just happened back at the end of August in London and how that played out and how things suddenly came together. Was he actually going to show up? That was going to be the big question as the night played out. So speaking of the night, let's get into the actual matches itself. We had about 5 matches. I was hoping that the show was going to be over by, I'd say, like when I got home, watched the replay. I was hoping it's going to be at least 3 hours. Yes, that was my expectation. Since it's a 5-match card, I was hoping at least be 3 hours, so I didn't have to waste my time watching a very long ass match. So we started the night off with the women's WarGames match. I thought it'd be the second match on the card, but nonetheless, you have to have a women's WarGames match somewhere. So the women's WarGames match involved Damage Control, which had Bayley, Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Asuka going up against the super team of Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. Yes, she's there for whatever reason. And then just suddenly happened to be there, Shotzi Blackheart. At least, I mean, I don't really care so much per se about this match, but looking at it from an outsider's perspective, at least this match actually had a little bit of story. It had a little bit of story elements because, since the summer, Damage Control had been feuding with different members of the SmackDown roster for as thin as the women's division is. They had been feuding with Bianca. They had been feuding with Charlotte. They had been feuding with Asuka. They had been feuding with Shotzi all summer long. That had been prolonged into the fall because, they shaved Shotzi's hair off. And then the other 3 women were involved in Io Sky's women's championship because Io cashed in on Bianca at SummerSlam. And then they took Bianca out for like a few months in storyline. But then recently, Kairi Sane came back to the WWE after like a year or 2 away, or actually 3 years away. So for Bayley, yeah, things were not looking good because, she had this vice. She's created damage control, or as I like to say, Bayley Splatoon girls, because you had Io and Dakota Kai, and all Dakota does is the Splatoon dance, but Dakota's injured right now. But nonetheless, things have not gotten so pleasant for Bayley because, she's the leader, the creator of that damage control group, because Io's longtime friend, Kairi Sane, returned at Crown Jewel. She helped Io retain her title against Bianca Belair. And then Io, she's longtime friends with Kairi. And then Bayley had flashbacks to 2020 when she and Sasha Banks assaulted Kairi backstage and basically kicked her out in storyline of WWE. But, despite all that, Kairi forgave Bayley on that SmackDown after Crown Jewel. But in my opinion, it was more deceptive. And then in the main event of that night, Asuka turned on Charlotte and Bianca to join Damage Control and basically set up WarGames. So in the next 2 weeks, the group was basically, just going on their own way, going merry way. But then you also saw at the same time Bayley being oblivious to the fact that her grip on the group was slipping away, but she was completely oblivious to that fact. Meanwhile, the super team of Team Belle Flair, as I like to call it, they're still trying to find a fourth member. Because, Damage Control took out Zelina Vega and Mia Yim, who were the only two members of the roster. So they had to go look on the outside. And all that was left was Becky Lynch. Regardless of how little to no sense it made, because, Becky Lynch is on Raw, and I guess fuck the brand split. I guess, Becky Lynch, they really had no one else. They really had no one else to do. So, yeah, I guess they had to use Becky Lynch. So, Becky Lynch was the fourth member of Team Belle Flair. And they brought up the night before on SmackDown that Becky and Charlotte did have some real life tension from a couple years ago, and they brought it up in storyline as a can they coexist in this match. So for this match itself, it was revealed during the kickoff show that Team Belle Flair won the advantage. So basically the advantage was they start off the match, as I said before, and after 5 minutes, the winning team, the team with the advantage, would get one member of that of their team into the match. So basically creating a handicap match for a couple of minutes. So Team Belle Flair won the advantage. So whoever came out after the 5 minutes would get one member from Belle Flair in that match. So yeah, the advantage was decided by a fan vote, sponsored by chips. Yes, sponsored by potato chips, not just any potato chips, by Ruffles. Ruffles, ladies and gentlemen. However you feel about Ruffles, hey, I personally think they're fine. I don't know. Which one do I prefer most? Do I prefer Lay's? Do I prefer Fritos? Do I prefer Pringles? Ruffles? I don't know. They're all fine in my opinion. But yeah, it's just kind of weird that sponsored potato chips. They're making that money, I guess. But it's just weird that a potato chip decided which team would get the advantage here. But I guess everyone made that bank in that match. I guess that's all that matters. But man, this match was it was not good. Everyone's praising the fuck out of this match. But when I look at this match, when I saw, this is not me being the S word. This match is overrated. This is overhyped. This is crap. So let me talk about it first. So, Becky and Bayley start off this match for their teams, and then you have Shotzi coming in to enter, and she brought in a load of weapons, playing off that crazy psychotic gimmick that she has. But then, and she brought in a load of weapons. And then she brought in a flurry of offense on Bayley. And then after that flurry, she botched a suicide dive that could have led to disaster. That could have led to the whole match being fucked because she landed on her head badly, dude. And I'm glad that she was able to move just fine after. She looked like she was gonna get concussed. I was legitimately concerned for her. So that was really bad. that looked really bad because that could have fucked up the match more than it could have. So legitimate concern for Shotzi there, but glad that she was okay and able to move fine just right after that. So then you had Io Sky coming out next to even the score for damage control, and then Bianca, the team captain per se, for Team Belle Flair, come out to restore the advantage for her team. Then you had Kairi Sane coming out, skipping for whatever reason, like she's AJ Lee for whatever God's forsaken reason. So she's basically acting like a goof in what's supposed to be like a Civil War kind of match. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you going like? Why are you like jumping, skipping to the ring? It's like, come on, man. Can we like bring a little bit of edge to this match? I mean, not like the wrestler, but bring a little like seriousness to this match. Like, why are you acting like a goof for? I mean, I'm not trying to be the that word, but come on. What are you doing here? So anyway, Charlotte was the final member of Team Belle Flair to enter, and that's when. Oh wait, that's not when WarGames began because we still had one other member. So Dakota Kai interfered in this match like much earlier on, and then she was still at ringside. So before Asuka entered, she gave Io Sky a trash can. It's kind of a unique spot, which was like one of the only highlight of this match. So Io had this chain that she brought into the match, and she used it to have Dakota chain link it to a trash can, and she used it like a well, like that bucket in a well kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting. That was kind of a cool spot. But then you had that trash can was used for a spot because they were at the top of the cage, and you all knew what was coming next. Io used the trash can to put it on herself because she jumped off the top of the cage onto everyone in the typical let's get everyone in a circle jerk. So I can dogpile onto you kind of shit. I mean, who saw that coming, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, I certainly didn't. No, I certainly did not. So anyway, Asuka gets in the match, and then she brings in a bunch of more weapons, and then WarGames officially began. So, I mean, there wasn't really a lot going on here. I mean, I get that Bayley was trying to save her team. Pretty much basically trying to pull a what can we use as an NFL analogy here? She was trying to pull a Josh Allen. Basically trying to do everything for her team. Pretty much like how Josh Allen basically has no help, and basically maybe like even a Patrick Mahomes without the receivers, basically without any receiver help. So that's basically Bayley here. But yeah, the match officially began. Charlotte had this sloppy ass moonsault as usual, except now it's even higher. She did off the top of the cage onto everyone except Shotzi because she was taken out by Asuka with the mist earlier. And then you had this moment between Charlotte and Becky after they double teamed on Kairi. They finally hugged it out. Yeah, friendship is magic, pal. But I mean, it's good that they finally put their tension in the past, which, hey, I'll give them credit for that. So the end saw Asuka try to use the blue mist on Shotzi, but she gets taken out by some other mist. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. No. Okay, I'm sorry. She receives the fire extinguisher from Bianca, so that takes out Asuka. And then Kairi was about to get her lights taken out by Charlotte via the spear, but Bayley took the bullet for Kairi by pushing her out of the way, and then she received the spear. So as a result, Bayley got a bunch of finishers from the rest of the team, the rest of the Super Trio and Shotzi, and then Bayley lost the match for her team by taking a rock bottom from the second rope from Becky through a table as the Super Trio and Shotzi won Women's WarGames. So, I mean, I don't know, man. This match was not great. It was not, there was a lot. I mean, with WarGames, the match doesn't officially begin until everyone's in the ring. So it's basically a lot of filler. But even when everyone was in the ring, it was like pretty sloppy at times. A lot of botchy moments. And then the purpose of this match basically was just like, okay, we're going to have the Super Friends, the female Super Friends, and Shotzi win this match. Like, literally, what's the purpose here? What was the purpose of, basically recreating last year's WarGames, which I didn't review, by the way, because, time and lack of interest. But what was the purpose of redoing basically last year's match and then having the same result? It was basically Charlotte, Bianca, and Becky, and then Shotzi winning this match. It does nothing for them. It basically does nothing for them other than like, oh, you see that Damage Control is going to win this match? Oh, sorry, that's not going to work for me, brother. That's not going to work for me, brother. So you see, if Damage Control were to win this match, but Bayley almost cost her team the win, it would have created a little bit more tension. It would have furthered the divide from Bayley. But now that they lost this match, I could give two shits less, even more. I don't even really give a shit. It further deepens whatever credibility that this group has. Like, I could give two shits less about Bayley. I could give two shits about her Splatoon group. Because, damn, they've taken so many L's after L's after L's that, from a casual fan perspective, it's like, why should I care about this group? It's like, they still haven't explained, after being here for, a year and a half now, why they even formed in the first place. It's like, don't expect me to Google search it, pal. Even if you Google search it, there's still no reason why. There's still no reason why. So, I mean, we all know where this is going. Bayley's gonna get ousted from the group. She's gonna turn babyface, but it's like, if they had won this match, it would have been more impactful. Bayley's eventual exit from the group would have been more impactful had they won. But now that they lost, it's just gonna look like, okay, just another average babyface that just got kicked out from the group, kicked to the curb, and now you have this super group that is Damage Control, thinking that they're super, but they're not, because they lost so much. So, speaking of these super groups, what does the other side do now? What does Charlotte and Bianca do now? Is that feud with Damage Control finally over with? If they're heading on a collision course to facing each other in April, finally get jump started? Does that finally slowly heat up? What about Shotzi? I mean, she's kind of like the odd woman out now. What does she do after this? And then, of course, Becky, she's obviously heading back to Raw, and hopefully she stays her ass there. I mean, does she finally get that feud? THAT, that feud going because nobody else is there? Can she finally get that going? Nose man. We don't need to wait 6 months. We don't need to wait another 4 months to get that started, or let alone 2 months. No. We don't need to wait till Philadelphia to get that shit started. Start it now. Start it Monday. R-Truth returned in the backstage segment. It's good to see R-Truth. We haven't seen him in quite a long time. So we had our second match of the night. It was the Intercontinental Champion, the Ring General, Gunther, taking on The Miz. The Miz, a couple weeks ago, he was slated to have Gunther on his talk show, Miz TV. But instead, Gunther and his group Imperium beat him down and kicked him out of the ring on his own talk show. And then a week later, The Miz won a fatal four-way match against Ricochet, Ivar, and Bronson Reed to get this match against Gunther at Survivor Series. So, yeah, that's basically the crux of this match, ladies and gentlemen. So, this match actually was fun compared to the opening match that we saw with the Women's WarGames match. So, I personally like this match. I don't know if I would say until we saw more of the matches later on. This was my match of the night. There was a lot of good back and forth between the two. A lot of potential, I'm not the biggest Miz fan. I thought that he put on a good showing here against the Ring General Gunther, who I thought was brought the best out of him by The Miz. So Gunther pretty much dominated a large portion of the match, being physically dominant. Aside from, he did basically more than just the chops. I don't know why people saying, he does just chops. Yes, that's a large portion, half of his offense, but he just does more than that, ladies and gentlemen. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do the typical, oh, let's put him in the rest hold for a couple minutes. I mean, sleeper hold, yes, it's part of his finisher, but it is more than just, oh, chops. I mean, I would recommend watching some of his other matches, like the triple threat back at WrestleMania. But anyway, Gunther dominated a large portion of this match, being physically dominant. The Miz got back into it though by targeting Gunther's knee that the Miz actually went on to like injure early on, the beginning of the match. Gunther tried to use a sleeper later on the Miz, but the Miz bought himself some time, removed the turnbuckle padding to distract the referee. He dick kicked Gunther twice to hit the skull crushing finale, but Gunther kicked out. The Miz tried to go for the skull crushing finale again, but Gunther reversed it back into a sleeper. Miz got out of that by ramming Gunther into the exposed turnbuckle, tried to get a roll up for a 2-fall, but the Miz's flurry finally ended. Gunther clotheslined him, splashed onto him, but he didn't get the full impact like Corey Graves said. And then once he realized that, he used the walls of Jericho on him. And then I like this ending. I really like this ending. Not only did the Gunther not let the Miz go for a rope break, he was very smart on that. He made the Miz tap by transitioning into a lion tamer to retain the title. I really like that ending because Michael Cole mentioned that if the Miz somehow managed to upset Gunther and win the Intercontinental title, he would tie Chris Jericho for the most Intercontinental title reigns at 9 apiece. So I liked that they mentioned that because Gunther must have heard in the back before the match and decided, you know what? Fuck you, Michael Cole. Fuck you, Jizz. I'm going to make you tap to the move by one of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time in Chris Jericho. I'm going to make you tap to that bitch. So I love the pettiness. I love the pettiness right there. Making you tap to one of the best submission finishes of all time. And that's the walls of Jericho. And then into the lion tamer. Love the finish there. Love the finish. But now the real question turns to who eventually dethrones the Ring General. Because, yeah, looking at it so far with the Raw mid-card roster, it's like not a lot of competition there. I really thought it was going to be Chad Gable after that 3-match series that they had, but it seems like they're not going that direction anymore. I'm kind of curious why. They kind of dropped it and relegating Chad Gable back to comedy sketches with Akira Tozawa and Otis. No, thank you. But yeah, at this rate, like I don't know who they drop it to. I don't know who they dropped that IC title to for to Gunther. Jey Uso? I mean, it's a possibility. LA Knight, if he goes to Raw? I don't know. Either way, it's like, I really thought at this rate that they would have at least someone or 2 people lined up to try and dethrone Gunther, like 2 legit people, to possibly dethrone Gunther for the IC title if the plan was to have Gunther win the Royal Rumble in the next 2 months in Tampa. But at this rate, I don't think he's dropping that title anytime soon. I know people are bored of Gunther. Some people don't like him, but it's like, man, what can you do at this rate? So next match we had Carlito take on Santos Escobar. Basically, this all came about when, the LWO was originally formed back in March, leading up to WrestleMania. Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio, they formed that mutual respect with one another. But then as we get into the summer season, that seasoned jealousy began to form. They do this injury angle with Santos, who won a number 1 contenders match for who was the United States champion at the time, Austin Theory. But Austin Theory took him out, injured his knee. But Rey Mysterio took his place, even though, in my opinion, I thought it was Santos Escobar insisted on Rey taking his spot, which I thought, why is Santos getting jealous when, he insisted. He insisted on Rey replacing him in that match. So it was kind of weird. But nonetheless, Rey Mysterio won the U.S. title in place of Santos Escobar from Austin Theory in that August episode of SmackDown. And then a couple months later, you had Carlito making his full-time return to WWE after he showed up at Backlash in May. Now he's back in WWE full-time. He returned at Fastlane to help out Rey and Santos in that match against Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. And now the attention was turned towards him within the LWO. Carlito was officially ingrained in the Latino world order. But then, within, the seeds of jealousy increased with Santos Escobar. He looked agitated that Carlito was just suddenly embraced within that group that Santos first created. So he was like, "Oh man, like really? You just embraced Carlito with open arms, like really?" So anyway, in this match with like a couple weeks later, Ray had this match with Logan Paul at Crown Jewel for the U.S. title, and one of Logan's cronies came out, and Santos seemed like he was gonna help out Ray even to score, because Logan's cronies brought out some brass knuckles. But then as he was chasing him away, Santos left the brass knuckles near the ring apron, and that was the key to Logan winning the U.S. title. So Santos was called out for it by Carlito in front of the entire LWO, and rightfully so. He was an asshole for it. And then that was he basically called out for that, for being the reason why Ray lost. And then after Carlito's match that he had with Lashley, Santos completed his turn to the dark side like Anakin, but I'm just kidding. And he injured in storyline Ray's knee, but actually Ray is legit injured. Speedy recovery to him. So he injured in storyline Ray's knee. He kicked his leg into the steel steps, and he took him out of action. So Santos pretty much explained that Dominic was right. Never meet your heroes, because they do dirty shit to you. And then he's burned his bridges with Ray, Zelina Vega, the rest of the LWO. He cut this really good promo, his scathing promo. He ran away from Carlito. And then the night before Survivor Series, the match was already set up, but then they had this brawl that ended with Santos also injuring Carlito. He injured his arm. And then Dragon Lee saved Carlito from further injury. And basically the match was about to be called off between Carlito and Santos Escobar. But then Dragon Lee's like, no, I want to avenge Carlito and Rey Mysterio. He went to Nick Aldis and said, "Give me the match. Let me replace Carlito." And he's like, "You want the match? Yeah. You want the match? Yeah. You're going to get it, pal." So basically, we're getting the same match, except with no Carlito, we're getting Dragon Lee. I really wanted to see Carlito, man. It was like, that was like one of the few things that I was looking forward to Survivor Series. I mean, other than, the CERN 2 returns that I was trying to pay attention for. Carlito. I really want, it was like the first time in a long time that we were going to see Carlito on a pay-per-view. And yet, they robbed us of it. They robbed us of Carlito, man. Like, I don't know if he's legit injured, or maybe they're just delaying the actual match with Santos and Carlito till a later date. But either way, it's like, really? You had to pull that bait and switch on us, Triple H? Come on. Don't announce that if you're not going to pull the trigger on it. And that's bullcrap. That is bullcrap. So anyway, I mean, this match itself is just like, I wasn't really into it. I wasn't really into it because it was just like indie glorified technical work rate crap. Because like, I'm sorry, like, what's so special about Dragon Lee? Like, what's really special about Dragon Lee? I mean, some of you can say about what's so special about Santos Escobar. I mean, at least with Santos, he actually can cut a good promo. He actually has some good mic skills, and if he can kind of delve deeper into like a mafia character that I think that's what they're going for, then I can go further deeper into, okay, he's good. He's really good. At least he's trying. At least Santos is actually trying. With Dragon Lee, all I can see is, he looks like he looks more of like, he's a Rey Fenix. He's basically WWE's version of Rey Fenix. That's what I see in him. Except that WWE is trying to promote him as, he's the next Rey Mysterio. He's the best. He's bringing the next generation of Lucha Libre. Okay. Then what's his gimmick? What's his character? He doesn't exude the same personality or mic skills as the same charisma as Rey Mysterio. So what's so special about him? So, I mean, Santos Escobar wins this match. It was kind of an interesting finish. You know, he reverses whatever finisher that Dragon Lee was trying to go for. He reverses it into what they called a South of the Border Destroyer, and then he followed it up with the Phantom Driver. That's his finisher to win the match. Clean finish, by the way. I mean, in terms of, you know, Santos didn't need to rely on help to win this match. You know, you barely see that nowadays. He didn't get the Roman Reigns treatment per se. So a heel winning clean to win this match. But other than that, it's like they didn't really do all that much to advance the story that they're trying to tell with Santos Escobar and the rest of the LWO. This is basically just a glorified technical work rate showcase that you've often seen on SmackDown these last several months. So, yeah, not much story advancement here. So our fourth match before the main event, you had the Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley defending her title against Zoe Stark in like 3 weeks short notice that you basically saw Zoe Stark win a Battle Royal to earn this matchup against Rhea Ripley. It was basically a Battle Royal setup like the Raw after Crown Jewel, so not much was done to advance the story other than, Zoe Stark invading Rhea Ripley's time with the Judgment Day. So it's like, yeah, I mean, this is basically the most predictable matchup on the card. Basically the worst matchup on the card. So what more do you need me to say? Like, what more do you need me to say? It's like, this is basically more food for Rhea Ripley to feast on. Nothing more, nothing less. And you can really tell because Zoe Stark barely got a reaction from the crowd. And, you know, considering it's Chicago, you know, a wrestling city, a smart mark fan city, I thought they would be smarter than that. I don't know. Either way, they were not into Zoe Stark at all. I mean, obviously they were into Rhea Ripley because reasons, in quotations. But yeah, they were not into this match at all. I mean, Zoe Stark did show off some of her athleticism early with some of those springboard moves. I mean, I'll give her that. You know, she has some good in-ring skills, but everything else about her, it's like so bad. It is so bad. But Rhea drove Zoe into a ring post to take some control. And I'll say this about Rhea Ripley. You know, for someone that calls Rhea Ripley, that nicknames herself the Eradicator, or Mommy, dude, or Modern China. You know, I look at this match, and she did a certain spot. It's like, dude, she could barely lift someone like Zoe Stark. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be the S word, but it's just like, dude, like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm just trying to point it out there. And you're trying to do a transition suplex. It's like, try to lift them up. Just trying to lift them up. I know, I don't have the best strength in the world, but it's like, come on here. So anyway, they almost botched that spot, and then Zoe Stark completely botches this spot. Rhea Ripley tries to go for a top rope choke slam, but then Zoe, I don't know if she was trying to flip out of it like Pat McAfee, or tries to do some top rope arm drag reversal on Rhea, but she completely botches it, and it almost could have ended badly. She took a bad landing. Rhea could have like broke her ankles on the landing, so it was a completely botched spot. So that looked really bad. So the ending saw Zoe go for her Z360 finisher, but Rhea blocked the impact on the last moment, and then she headbutted Zoe, and she hit the riptide to retain her women's world title. I mean, no surprise there. Zoe's the latest victim on Mommy, as this was, yeah, like I said, the most predictable matchup on the card. I mean, what more did you expect, ladies and gentlemen? What more did you expect? I mean, I could see some people praising the crap out of Zoe for her showing despite defeat, but she is botchy. There were some botchy moments in the back half of this match. So now the real question comes. I was going into this match thinking, would that certain someone show up to confront Rhea during after this match? Thankfully, that answer was no. At least not yet. At least that certain someone didn't show up at the pay-per-view. But they're still raw. And if that certain someone shows up on Raw, then the agenda that I'm trying to push, the other fans are trying to push, is going to be dead and buried. So I'm hoping that certain someone doesn't return on Raw during that Bears-Vikings game. So if that person doesn't show up on Raw, then the agenda stays alive. And hopefully they don't come back until the Royal Rumble match, during that Women's Royal Rumble match, where we can watch her and watch her finally live to win the Rumble and not have it be the man. And yeah, just get that feud started already, man. Just get that feud started between Rhea and the man already. Like I said, don't waste your time until April with all these filler feuds for them. Just get it rolling already. It's like, we already know what's going to happen anyway. We already know what's going to happen, and it's not going to benefit either one of them if, like I said, if Rhea wins, then you're going to have to figure out who you're going to feed her to next and find her eventual dethroner. If Becky wins, then you set the division back again. So you have to mix it up. Some people say, "Oh, it draws tickets, pal. It's main event night one." Not what we saw after tonight. Not what we saw after yesterday. Not what we saw after Survivor Series. No, you're not getting that precious main event between Rhea and Becky night one. No. Not after what we saw in the main event of Survivor Series. So hopefully, at least once we get past Monday, if that certain person doesn't show up in a segment with Rhea or in a match with Rhea, after post-match, post-segment, if they don't show up, they don't return, then we're good. We are good. Please, Triple H, think about it. Don't screw this up. You have a story, an actual story, not one that just relies on stare downs, not one that that some certain WWE fans, some certain stands of the man are treating this like Rock versus Cena, Rock versus Austin. Oh, this is the female version of that. You have an actual story on your hands with the alternative. Try that for once. Try that with that person that needs that second chance. Come on here. So now let's get into the main event. This was going to be a main event that certainly is going to have people talking because of one or maybe even two individuals. So that main event was going to involve the men's WarGames match. So your participants included the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough, and Drew McIntyre going up against the Super Friends of Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and the returning Randy Orton. This has basically been the culmination, hopefully it is the culmination, of a 6 to 7 month long feud of endless rematches, endless opening segments, endless 50-50 booking between the Judgment Day and the Super Friends, which has consisted of Sami Zayn, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, and then Jey Uso. It's been a never-ending feud on Raw that a lot of fans have been complaining about. I've been complaining about. And since then, I have transitioned over to Monday Night Football because this shit sucks. This shit has completely sucked the life out of me. So their feud did take an uptick. You know, Damian Priest and Finn Balor won the tag team titles two separate occasions. And, you know, at least Adam Pearce, you know, he saw that, okay, this has gone like 7 long months overdue. And a couple weeks ago, prior to this event, he finally grew a set and said, enough is enough. We're finally going to end this once and for all, hopefully. And he announced that the Judgment Day, along with JD McDonald, would face the Super Friends inside WarGames in Survivor Series. So this was initially going to be 4-on-4, and then it became 5-on-5 after Drew McIntyre turned to the dark side after he teased it for like weeks on weeks. And he struck that deal that was also teased with Rhea Ripley as he caused Cody and Jay a tag team title rematch 2 weeks prior. So that left Cody and the Super Friends trying to find another member, one final member to their team. So everyone thought it was going to be another individual, but then it turned out to be this individual, Randy Orton. So Cody heavily implied that the final member of the team was going to be his old friend from Legacy, Randy Orton. So the advantage of this match would go to the Judgment Day. Drew would win that advantage 5 days prior on Raw. So at least, it made a little bit of sense for the heels to actually have the advantage in this match. So they were actually playing up all night long that Randy wasn't going to show up to help out Team Super Friends. And, I was a little bit concerned too, even prior to them not playing up that fact, because, there was a little bit of advertising that didn't show Randy Orton. And if they actually pulled that bait and switch, I was going to be pissed off. And I imagine that a lot of people were going to be pissed off. So if they did that, oh boy, they were going to be rioting in Chicago. They were going to be so mad if they did that. But yeah, it's not good. That would have been not good. So anyway, for this WarGames match, Finn Balor and Seth Rollins start things off for their teams. But then once you got to the actual match, Seth's team's cage was noticeably locked without Randy appearing. And then you had the certain Chicago man chants beginning to ring, like real hard. So Seth tried to play them off by having them sing his song, the little, yeah, that dumbass theme song of his. But then you get the competitors piling in. You have Drew McIntyre it wasn't Drew McIntyre trying to get in. It was JD McDonald being the first man into the match for Judgment Day, giving them the advantage. And then you had Jey Uso yeet into the match next to even the score for his team. And then it seemed like Drew McIntyre was going to be the next one in, but Damian Priest was held him back. He's like, no, stick to the plan. So he's trying to act like the leader of the Judgment Day finally grow a set to Rhea Ripley. So I guess they're finally playing that off now. So he entered next, and then Sami Zayn next entered for his team. After a year ago, he was the key focal point of that match in that pretty good Bloodline versus Team Drew match. So that was a fun WarGames match last year. So anyway, he entered this his second WarGames match, and then now you had Drew McIntyre enter next. He destroys Seth and Sammy so he can get to Jey Uso because he has PTSD from Clash of the Castle still. So now Cody Rhodes is the next man out. But now Super Friends' cage is empty because, Randy's not there. So now you have the last member for the Judgment Day, which is Dominic, come out, who, of course, was booed hard by Chicago. And then there's this funny spot where he tries to do the Three Amigos on Cody once he gets in. But then, of course, he notices hey, guys. I was just trying to do this spot on Cody. And then they all gangbang. The Super Friends gangbang him. They beat him up. And that was just funny. So now, as the match progresses, as you get to the 3 minutes that are going down and down and down, was he going to show up? Was the Viper going to slither in and save the day? Was he going to even the score? So as the bad guys were dominating, the clock was ticking further. People were getting antsy if he was going to actually show up. Sooner rather than later, that question had to be answered because you get to the 20-second mark and Rollins is put through a table by Damian Priest. So now that Judgment Day is standing there and they're waiting for that fifth man, and whether it's going to be Randy Orton or not, they were prepared. But then once that timer hits 0, they're still waiting, and then all of a sudden, Rhea Ripley comes out, her music hits, and then she's running down the ring with Jessica Carr, the referee, and then she's rushing the ring, and she's telling Jessica Carr, come on, get this thing cashed in, bruh. We need to cash this. She's trying to pull a Money in the Bank cash in for Damian Priest, which, I thought could have actually happened in this match, by the way. It would have been an interesting thought, but then voices ran in their head. They tickled them right in the... I don't know. I don't know what to say. But then, damn it, voices are here. It's Randy. Randy. Randy is back. Randy Orton showed. Randy Orton is back, and he looks jacked. The Viper went ham on everybody. Dominic, McDonald's, Balor. And there was a point where, everyone ganged up on Randy Orton. The Super Friends got backed up to help out their friend. And they all went together with Randy, hit the stereo, draping DDT on everyone. And it was electric, man. It was so fun to see Randy Orton back in the ring. Even though he did his signature moves. Dude, it was so fun to see, man. This was so fun to watch. To finally see Randy Orton back. I mean, yeah, I'm an Orton fan. Like, don't get me wrong. Some people say, oh, he's boring at times, but his later heydays, dude, he's interesting. He is interesting. But man, just seeing him back in the ring after a year away, and the thought of him never being able to compete again because of the fusion back surgery, 3 fusion back surgeries, I think. That was fun. That is fun to watch. He looks like as if he never had the back injury. So that was fun to see. That was really fun to see. And then he looked poised to hit the RKO on Damian Priest. He's pounding his fist, but then he turns his attention to Jey Uso. So he looks like he's going to hit the RKO on Jey, because for those that were unaware, Jey and Jimmy, when they were in the Bloodline last year, they took out Randy Orton in storyline to write him off TV for that back injury. But then Jey Uso recognizes that. He's like, dude. I'm sorry, man. But then Randy was like, I didn't forget. But then Jey, he was super aware that Damian got back up. He super kicks Priest, and then Dominic gets an RKO, which pretty much led to a finisher fest for the Super Friends. Cody hits Balor with the Cody Cutter. Rollins hits Priest with a curb stomp on the metal plate in the middle of the structure. Sami and Jey hit Drew with a Helluva Kick and an Uso splash, and that left none other than JD McDonuts in the ring, all alone, and the Super Friends are pretty much all there, surrounding his ass. And his first instinct was to, oh, well, fuck it. I'm just going to forfeit. I'm just going to leave this WarGame structure and call it a day for my team. But then Sami and Seth catch him on top of the cage, and, well, lying in wait was Randy Keith Orton. And once the McDonuts were thrown down, in came in the RKO from Orton. And then Randy's like, okay, Cody, you can finish this match. And then he hands Priest over to Cody for the Crossroads to get the win for the Super Friends. And oh man, those last 5 minutes of that match, that was so good. That was so good. At least to see Randy Orton back after such a long time away. Man, you know that saying, the heart grows fonder when they're away for so long, or whatever, maybe that kind of similar saying. It felt good. It really felt good to see Randy Orton back after such a long time away. But most of this match itself was really not that interesting. Just like with the women's WarGames match, until the match officially begins, not a lot much happens, because, well, everyone's trying to get in, and both teams are trying to trade the advantage or disadvantage. But I mean, I will say, the men's match was better paced than the women's, because everyone's, at least with the men's, they weren't trying to do all these spots compared to the women's side. So, hey, this was a better paced match, a better balanced match than the women's, and they did have a slightly better story than the women's side of things. So, going in though, there was a little bit of concern on my part how Randy Orton was going to play a role in this match, because, he's been out for a year with that career-threatening back injury. How protective we're going to be of him, and how is he going to perform. And there are also questions about, they brought up Jey Uso's checkered past with Randy when he was with the Bloodline, and like I said, with Damian Priest, he has the Money in the Bank briefcase. Was he going to cash in on Seth during the match? They pretty much checked all the boxes. They pretty much answered all the questions in that match. Randy had no restrictions. And even if he hit the RKO, it seemed like he tried to land in a different spot when he landed the move. So he's trying to find different ways to protect himself, which is good. And they even teased the Randy RKOing Jay for what the Bloodline did to him. So I like that they're at least trying to maybe advance a feud between the two, like later down the line. And then that cash in, which, kind of made Rhea look stupid, and so did Damian Priest before Randy made his grand return. But, at least something happened in this match. So all in all, I'm glad they didn't do the bait and switch, because at least, if they did, that would have made Triple Nose look stupid. But even he isn't that dumb. Even he, for all his flaws, is not that stupid. So most of this match was meh, but the return of Orton was really well done. It's really well done. The crowd went roaring for him, and I just hope that going forward on Raw, everyone has a fresh slate. No more Judgment Day versus XYZ babyface people for good. Let's start off with a clean slate. Now that we're heading into this dead period in winter, people are probably going to go back to, maybe, I don't know, maybe people will be going back to watching football after this. But nonetheless, time to end this Judgment Lame versus XYZ dead saga for good after this. Put an end to it now. Starting on Raw. Fresh, clean slate heading into the Royal Rumble. But the night wasn't over yet. We thought the night was over with the return of the Viper, because, you got this wide camera shot of the arena, the WarGames structure overlooking everybody in the arena. And Michael Cole looked to sign off. You had the little graphic at the side. It said, "Oh, thank you for tuning in. Survivor Series press conference up next." But then a familiar static shot went off, and then a remastered version of Cult of Personality blasted through the Allstate Arena, and then the certain Chicago man's name appeared plastered all over the Trons and over the video boards, and out he came. In the roar of the crowd, one CM Punk. I'll be honest with you. I did not expect it. I did not expect CM Punk to actually mend the fence, make peace with the WWE after what they did with them. But, hey, I gotta give them both credit. Time really does heal all wounds. Never say never. This was for as critical as I've been with Punk, this was good. This was good. This was like very surprising. This is very surprising. I'm like, damn. And I just got a text message I just got a DM from my friend, and it was just like, I know, am I dreaming too? Or did they actually sign Punk back? This is legit, dude. This is legit. I mean, damn. I'm still in disbelief that CM Punk is actually back in WWE. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the guy, but I think he can try to do something with this second run. CM Punk is a really good mic worker, and he can go in the ring. Well, we'll see if he can still have that. I don't want to say aura, because that's an overrated word. He can have a go in the ring still. But I will say this. He has plenty of rebuilding backstage to do. He has a lot of rebuilding, because everything that happened in the last 2 years with AEW, everything that happened in the last several years, especially with his exit, everything that he said post-exit in WWE and after in 2014, pissed off a lot of people. It pissed off a lot of people, ruined his reputation. There's a reason why he's had the issues with people like Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens. He's pissed off a lot of people in the past and currently. That's why look at Seth Rollins, for example. He was, I don't know, he looked legit pissed after the show went off the air. Maybe he was just working the crowd, but I don't know, man. Some people may be legit pissed that CM Punk is back in WWE. Well, I don't know. It could be just, a work or legit. Either way, I think that Punk being back in WWE, it could work. It could work, just that, as long as they all stay professional, as they all can see that the end goal, okay, this is about business. This is about business. They don't try to make it about themselves. Don't try to be marks at the end of the day, because at least with WWE, they can run things more smoothly than AEW ever has been. Because with Triple H, I think that big nose, for that big nose goof that he is, at least he's more professional. He's learned from experience that he can run a tighter ship than Tony Khan can. So that's why CM Punk is just like, okay, if I had enough of this, this company's run by children, so maybe WWE's not so bad after all. Maybe after he's left from All In, after that issue with All In, which part of it was his fault, and so was the All Out Brawl Out. Maybe he took some time to reflect, and maybe reflect with what he did. Try to, I don't know, try to. Either way, it's a very interesting situation. Like, it's a very interesting situation of can he be a better professional person? Can he be a better professional person while also not coming off as an asshole, getting overly confrontational, getting overly emotional behind the scenes? Because I think that's what rubs people the wrong way. He does say a lot of truthful things about today's wrestlers, some people backstage, but he does it in the wrong way. That's what rubs people off. So it'll be interesting how this works. I hope that whatever things go on in the long run, they better work out. Because if this smacks in the face of Triple H, then it can go badly. It can go really badly. So, yeah, they surprisingly got CM Punk back. I preferred the Randy Orton return better, but hey, they got their man back. I'm legit surprised that they pulled this off. I mean, yeah, they teased it. They teased it hella for the last 2 months. I mean, I personally didn't think it was gonna happen. I thought it was just like, oh, okay. They were gonna just leave it be. They're just trolling, but no, they actually did it, folks. CM Punk, after 9 years away, is back in the WWE. Time truly does heal all wounds. With Triple H, CM Punk. I don't know if Vince was involved in it either, but either way, damn. Let's see how it works out. But all I know is that CM Punk is gonna have some serious work to do if he wants to gain the respect of that place he once called home for the last 9 years, from 05 to 14. And ironically enough, he returned nearly a decade after he first left. So, damn. And I will say this last thing with CM Punk's return. For those of you that were really begging, that were crying, that were advocating for Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch on the main event of WrestleMania Night 1, you can kiss that goodbye. You can shove that out the door, because, Endeavor's gonna, Triple H is surely gonna go all in on Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, headlining that first night of WrestleMania in Philadelphia now. Sorry for those that wanted Rhea versus Becky. Nope, not happening anymore. On that Night 1 main event, it's gonna be Seth versus Punk, Night 1. We'll see how we get there, but Punk back in WWE. Should be interesting what he has to say, whether it's on Monday on Raw or on SmackDown. Hey, maybe this is not such a dark period winter after all. So overall, with Survivor Series 2023, WarGames, most of the show was just very middling. A lot of filler. But the returns of Randy Orton and CM Punk certainly had me talking. Certainly had everyone else talking. I did enjoy the Gunther versus Miz match, so at least that was something. But yeah, everything else is just filler. But yeah, I'm more excited to see what Randy Orton does than CM Punk, because CM Punk's a really good mic worker, a good in-ring worker. But I mean, hopefully he can stick to that with his age. But the fallout of both their returns is going to be interesting to watch. Let's see how Triple H follows up with that. I really hope he has good plans for both of them, because most of his returns haven't had exactly good follow-ups. So honestly, he has me intrigued for Raw this Monday. I can't believe I'm saying that. I might actually be more intrigued to watch Raw on Monday than whatever Monday Night Football game that they have. Oh yeah, it's the Chicago Bears going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, Bears football. Yeah, primetime Bears football again. So, yeah. I'm more intrigued to watch what Punk has to say, what Randy has to say on Raw, and whatever Justin Fields and Josh Dobbs have going on in the mini on prime time. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on Survivor Series. Let me know your thoughts on CM Punk's return, Randy Orton's return, or anything else that happened on this show, whether it's in the comments on YouTube or a DM on social media on X or Instagram. Send me a message and let's get a conversation going about Survivor Series WarGames 2023. But anyway, that is it for episode number 170 of Very Cold Lasagna. I am your host, DylanLasagna, signing out of another icy yet spicy sports podcast episode. And as always, keep the lasagna very cold in the fridge on the world of sports. And officially, for all my wrestling fans out there, and for my audio listeners out there, we are on the road to the Royal Rumble. And yeah, it's going to be a long wait, but we will see what happens in these next 2 months as we begin the road to the Rumble and the road to WrestleMania going into 2024. But until next time, make sure you tune into the stuff that I'm posting on YouTube with the NFL stuff and some occasional WWE content on Very Cold Lasagna on YouTube. So subscribe there. But until next time, until the next episode, peace out.